Day in, day out, money is won and lost trading order flow on the betting exchange. But what happens when there's a significant delay to the race scheduling? As we all know, a couple of mistakes can be catastrophic. Trading without activity is like catching a ghost. It's like trying to grab something that isn't actually there. So in this clip, we're going to take a look at a screen recording of my trading earlier in the week when there was a huge amount of delays all in one day. Okay, so we've got Nottingham, 1 mile, 2 furlongs, a novice stakes race, and you'll see that it's really quite late in this pre-race market already. So we're inside the 4-minute mark and I've only just got a bet matched. I'll come into that in a second as to why that is, but I wanted to really highlight something that's quite important within this clip. So first of all, today has just been non-stop delays. Recorded this earlier on, and the very first race of the day was delayed, and then after that things were made worse and worse because there was some big fields to load into the stalls, a lot of horses obviously playing up, and so it just got worse and worse. It had a huge knock-on effect with the entire schedule, which is less than ideal depending on how you're trading, particularly if you're trading order flow and volumes passing into the market. Now at this point you can see that a lot of money has started to pour into the market, so we're only really just getting active now, 3.5 minutes to the start. You can see denoted by the dark green bars on the volume bars there on the right hand side of each column, the money that has most recently been matched. So with the market not being active earlier on, it's the worst possible position that you could be putting yourself in to trade, because essentially it's like trying to catch a ghost. It's trying to have a fight in an empty room with no opponent. You're just going to get yourself tired out, wound up, and make mistakes, as it were, but leaving yourself vulnerable when it comes to the proper trading, as I call it, the real market activity. So whilst the market's not active, there's a lot of dead money as such sat out in the market. Trying to trade that, you're going to go in circles. I think a lot of people typically have this kind of fixed thinking, whether they're looking for an arbitrary value, such as, do I do X at 2 minutes and Z at 1 minute, or Y at 4 minutes, and it's a completely wrong way to be going about it. That's obviously like a systematic approach. There's a difference between a systematic approach and having a betting system where you follow specific cues at certain points, which in my opinion is ridiculous. It's just not really going to last very long. So it's more about having the knowledge as to what's happening within the market and having the reasoning as to why you get involved. Now I can say that I would get involved at this point in time because you can see the market on the screen is highly active. There's a lot of prices moving, there's money passing in and lots of flow to actually trade, whereas previously there wasn't. If you were saying I'll start trading at 4 minutes and I'll stop at 2 previously, then you're going to leave yourself wide open, because you need to follow and adjust to the activity, which is what makes pre-race trading so hard sometimes. So coming back to what I was just saying there, you need a reason. You need to be a why person as such. Myself, it's always been the case. I even remember being back in the army, and sometimes it didn't go down well with superiors, but I was constantly questioning why something was happening, if we can do it better in a certain way, and it's not the place to be doing that obviously, but that's the kind of thing that's probably helped with my trading, to try and get out of that fixed kind of thinking. Now a lot's happened on the screen here already, so we'll jump it back in a second and slow things down so I can actually talk about the market more, but the first question should be is what is actually happening in the market. Number one, is there activity, is there volume, is there liquidity, is there order flow, etc, etc. So let's wind this recording back to the start, and we'll take a little look at what's actually happening within the market and why I've responded in the manner that I have. Okay, so what's actually happening here? Obviously we've got a very inactive market. I've got some kind of preconception already as to what might happen. Looking at the Betfair charts at the bottom there, as you may have seen in previous videos mentioned on YouTube, I've looked at the volumes, and you can see that there's been a steady amount of money come for the favourite. That's obviously been reflected on the second favourite, and this third favourite has started to draw some attention. So currently, the reason I've opened up with this lay trade here at 3.2 is because it's 2 against 1. You've got the two main shorter prices opposing this runner in the middle, which is the second favourite, and it's already been drifting. So there's no real reason for me to think that, you know, it's not going to carry on drifting. Obviously, it can't carry on drifting forever. So I'm very careful about how much I've got exposed in the market at any point in time. For anyone that knows anything about me, you'll know that, you know, I'm very risk averse, and so I don't like leaving myself overexposed for long periods of time any more than I have to. And so sometimes I give away a little bit of my edge just for that bit of safety, peace of mind, and so I don't go off the rails and start doing crazy things. So there's obviously a little bit more support for the second favourite now. That's bottled the move at this point in time, but I don't suspect that it's really going to turn. At this point in time, I'm just looking for points, reasons that that the whole market's going to turn on its head. So as much as there's been support for this favourite, and there is still continued support for the third favourite, it's a volatile moment in the market. I'm now thinking, oh God, that's gone against me a bit. I've already lost a bit of potential profit there at this point in time, but how far can it go? I want to back the favourite, if anything, because it's been solid. There's solid movement for it, and I suspect that this can't carry on drifting after it's been backed so heavily previously already. Now, it could be a case that it's been overbacked, and this could be why it's flying out, or it could be a mixture of that and people that have got themselves into a bad position because they were on the backside of the book when trading. You've got to remember there's other traders within the market, but there's a small correction there, and that's why I've backed at the top there and laid it off. Now, it could have carried on going a little bit further against me, and I would have been comfortable if that had happened at that point in time, but 2.5 is obviously 6 to 4. It's a prominent point within the market. It had already moved significantly back against itself, and it's not just because the price has retracted back against itself doesn't necessarily mean that all support for this horse has now disappeared and everybody's decided to pack up their bags and go home. That's ridiculous. So just because there's a correction in prices sometimes doesn't mean that support's going to stop, and that's why I've picked that position to jump on the top there. I've laid off a portion of my stake very quickly to offset my green zone, make myself feel more comfortable on the ladder. Yes, I've given away some profit in the process, but we're still 20 quid up at this point in time. That's not too bad. I'm trying to work out the whole time what's actually happening on this third favourite here. Is it going to carry on being backed? Obviously, it's a horse from Saeed bin Saror. These are young horses in a novice race, and so it could be a case that somebody else knows something that we don't. I don't feel that comfortable to be backing it at this point in time, because the action tends to be on the short prices in the market. There's obviously a little bit more flow, and you'll see me pointing out with the cursor just there that the delay money that keeps popping into the market and swiping the price back is the only thing that's making me feel slightly nervous in this instance, and going against what I believe, which is that the price should really be stable at least, or shortening. I certainly don't think it should be drifting up and drifting beyond 2.5. So I'm not going to overexpose myself by getting on too large, because I'm not so full of confidence that I want to ride this one for a big stake. We are close to post time. The race is going off slightly late, but it's not particularly late. It's only 30 seconds or so. This race goes off late, so I start to hedge up my positions there, and that brings this market to a close. So you can see there wasn't really anything to go off there other than the flow within the market, and importantly, the point at which flow enters the market. Okay, so just to recap a couple of the points raised within this clip, the most important ones. Be aware of delays, because you don't want to be trying to trade when there's not enough activity. Secondly, you want to try and get yourself a nice 2 versus 1 situation at the very least. You want an uncompetitive situation inside the market to trade, so you've got a considerable advantage over what is potentially likely to happen, tying that in with the order flow. And also, it's important to remember to trade what you see rather than what you actually want to see. I think a lot of people have ideas in their head about what they want to see, what they expect to see, and they try to trade that. But that's what order flow trading is all about, trading what you actually see happening and flowing into the market at that point in time. You need to forget and get away from that fixed kind of thinking with the whole arbitrary values. Do I trade from 2 minute down to 1 minute? Do I do X when Y? Because the situation is always changing. Being a why person and understanding why something is happening is often far better.